With this introductory remark, I have said presentation scheme I have changed. This is a photo, and it says that photo says so many things. What it tells you. Have you seen this before? Anyone? Raise your hand. Very good. I'll come to you a little later. Yeah. Any speculation with regard to what this is? No, wait, hold on. Those who know must wait for those who are yet to know, and those who know. Okay, those who know.
I think it's the Earth's perspective, like outer space's perspective of Earth, if I'm not wrong.
Outer space perspective of
Like,
Earth. You are sounding it so technical. Can't you simplify it?
That white dot is Earth.
That white dot is Earth.
Yeah.
The pale blue dot is the Earth. It is Voyager while leaving the our I think our solar system.
Yeah.
Then he was leaving the solar system, so NASA turned it for one last time.
Right.
Before it went.
Right. After this session, or maybe when you get time, search for this on Google, the pale blue dot. Right? This is the pale blue dot. 1976, NASA launched a very interesting mission, Voyager. And thereafter, they launched another mission, Voyager 2. What was the objective of launching them? And we keep launching so much. इसको क्यों launch किया Voyager? Yeah.
It moves endlessly into space.
Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. It has every machine has a time line. Before that, after that, possibility is or projections are that it will malfunction. But then this has stood test of time and test of universe as well. So it went on past Saturn, past many other planets, and then moved crossed the solar system, moved into the interstellar. Interstellar reminds you anything? The movie, right? So, watch some interesting movies and documentaries if you want to understand space and how we are trying to comprehend and get to terms with it. Some very realistic, very interesting research being undertaken to come out with those movies. So I would suggest look for 4 or 5 good movies. I think we also had in Bollywood one very interesting movie few years back.
PK?
No, of course PK had a connection. The fellow coming from somewhere, trying to adjust to what we keep on doing here. Mission Mars, the recent one. I do expect some Mission Chandrayaan also soon coming from Bollywood, though I do not know. So coming back to the Voyager, yeah, just prepare a list and you can watch. That's my suggestion. You must watch. So this is so Voyager was moving across Saturn. It was about to cross the solar system. Just think of what I'm talking. I was about to cross the solar system. There was one suggestion by Carl Sagan. Read his book, available easily. He said it has given us so many fantastic close pictures of the things that we otherwise don't see. And why don't you think of turning the cameras back, as rightly pointed out, and see as to how we look from there. Yeah. This was not agreed initially, but then agreed, and ultimately when the cameras were turned back, this was what was visible. Just to be a little more precise, the distance that we are talking here is 6 billion kilometers. I see people taking photo, adjusting focus. This is space. 6 billion kilometers, and this was undertaken on 14th February 1990, right? And it says everything that you were trying to tell. It challenges the anthropocentric conception of life itself. We feel we are at the center of the universe. Are we at the center? Am I visible? I was there? No, I was there. I'm talking about this. I was there, I don't see myself. Can I see any of the places? No. Can I see the earth? Read about this photograph. It's just, we are just a pale blue dot, nothing more. So those who think everything is for us, here's the truth. You are part of the universe. Universe is not because of you. Universe is very vast. And anything else that comes now that I have told you few specifications about the picture, what comes to your mind over and above what I have said? Life is a lot about imagination and spontaneity. What comes to your mind apart from whatever I have said?
A lot of unexplored area.
Lot of unexplored area. Anything else?
We are not alone.
We are not alone. Who can you see here?
Which we can't see. We are not alone.
We are not alone, but in this figure too we are alone.
Yeah.
It's so isolated and it's so lonely. And I mean, think.
The sky is not the limit.
Yes, it wasn't. It has never been. It used to be said earlier. Sky is the final frontier, sky is the limit. But people realize it is not. That's why we have been moving. It's so lonely, and this is the only place that belongs to you. Read what Carl Sagan wrote in order to contextualize. It's available on YouTube also. Watch the speech, what he said. Beautiful. This is the only place we have. And madam, nowhere to go. Perfect argument for protecting the environment and protecting the earth. Because that's where we belong to. And I'm not saying that. Carl Sagan has already said. It's just that you haven't read. I have read a little bit, and so therefore I'm helping you read what he said about this. So, Voyager, where is Voyager now? It is still traveling. Interstellar, solar system crossed, everything crossed. We have had problems in that. I think I was, when I landed yesterday at the airport, waiting for my young colleague to join me. I was reading, there was some problem that they are facing now. It is far beyond its expiry. It has worked fantastically well. Voyager 2 is also joining from behind. And this is a place where, I mean, we just don't know what it is. And so therefore, whatever is our opportunity or opportunities like this. Apart from the photos that you take, you might be aware James Webb Telescope that we have put in place. Some scintillating fantastic pictures of what the telescope is seeing. Go to NASA's website, watch those pictures and enjoy what we are part of. Who went to moon first? I need not to ask. Right? Everybody knows. After reaching there, what he said, this was what was said, nothing new, everybody knows. First step for mankind. Giant leap for mankind. Then they also carried this insignia where they said, we come in peace for all mankind. So astronauts that Devendra was pointing out, they are envoys of mankind. Okay, so when astronaut goes to space, Kalpana Chawla was not representing any particular country, they were representing the whole humanity. That's the conception, and therefore everyone should try to help the astronauts if the help is needed. How many people have gone to moon till date? No, I'm not asking whether you have gone. I'm asking you how many have gone. We have number of missions thereafter as part of Apollo program. So 12, just check out the figures if I'm wrong. 12, 6 missions. The last one carried this message: we shall return with peace and hope for all mankind. Next session, my very young and promising colleague Aditya is going to speak about ASAT, weaponization and militarization, and look at what we are talking, right? But then I leave it for him, and he will do it fantastically well. I know him for being very impressive. Exploration apart, excitement apart, let's talk about some business as well. So we are here talking about global space economy. As we have aviation industry, we have space industry. But what exactly it is? So it covers all activities and use of resources, create value and benefits to human beings, in the course of exploring, researching, understanding, managing, and utilizing space. Are you getting this? Right. And all this will include space commercialization. Okay. Then emergence of private players. The Mitra spoke about it. Any player that you are aware of?
Elon Musk.
I said any company. She said Elon Musk.
I mean,
You are right. I have no problem. Accompany this. Sometimes individuals are known more than British Galactic, Blue Origin, many more than just an example only. Space commercialization. So a greater part of our journey to space has been space for Earth. What do we do in space for Earth? We go to space and use the space for Earth. Now, how do we use satellites, remote sensing, space for Earth, right? And many more. My other friend Chinmoy is going to talk about small satellite constellations. You will get your opportunity to know more about it. So therefore, all these activities are space for Earth, right? And then there is another. As we have developed technology, what has happened is space for space. हमको वापस नहीं आना है. If you understand Hindi, we are going to go and be there. And when we will be there, what we will do? Huh? कितना negative क्यों? Although there are projections, but why to start? This is the first question I asked with regard to this. Space में जाएंगे, वापस नहीं आएंगे, वहाँ क्या करेंगे? Colonize करेंगे? We can be little more positive. Although you are right. Yes.
Prolong our life.
exploration.
Exploration ही करते रहेंगे.
So longevity, human longevity will increase, life will be increasing.
Life will be increasing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Like a home away from home.
Home away from home, right? अगर कहीं ऐसा हुआ कि अर्थ अनफिट हो गई तो वहाँ चले जाएंगे, right? और वहाँ जाने के लिए हमें वहाँ कंस्ट्रक्शन करना होगा. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि कंस्ट्रक्शन को वापस लाएंगे. तो स्पेस फॉर अर्थ नहीं है, स्पेस फॉर स्पेस. वी आर गोइंग टू गो देयर, राइट? सो व्हेन वी वेंट टू मून, Neil Armstrong, exploration. Now we are focusing again on going to moon, and this time around what we are planning for is we are going to make moon a gateway for further deep exploration of space. If we want to send manned mission to Mars, it's very difficult from Earth directly. So from Earth से space पे जाएंगे. I'm sorry. We'll go to moon. Moon में we will have our installations in place, and then another launch from moon all the way to. Are you understanding? This is not space for Earth. This is space for space. Since you are telling me space for space, I'll move on. Indian space industry, where do we figure? Global space industry and Indian space industry है. Big size. We are 2% of this economy. Now you understand how we have to cover a distance, and government is very keen that they will, and therefore they are undertaking a lot of initiatives, right? And this is how you should be also, because space is not only about showing your muscle, it is as much about showing your economic muscle as well. So therefore 2% is what we have. For our players, now these names I do not know. People know Elon Musk. These are also very relevant players. These are commercial arms of ISRO. So Antrix Corporation and New Space India Limited. All the commercial launches, plans are that they should expertise and do. Then Chandrayaan is in news. Mangalyaan was referred. But then the first traces of water on moon were discovered by Chandrayaan. I'm not speaking about Mangalyaan. I'm not speaking about another Chandrayaan. You know it. It's comparatively recent. But the evidence of water on moon, the word was given by our first mission of Chandrayaan. That's our contribution. we have been contributing to space for peaceful purposes right from day one since we launched, because we have been utilizing it for education. Have you watched that movie Rocket Boys? No, it's not a movie, it's a series. If you haven't seen, you have missed something. Of course, I'm not their representative and not selling the movie. Yeah. Outer space treaty. Even I was talking about it. Whosoever goes to space, they are not to do national appropriation there. So our friend who spoke about colonization, no, right? Appropriation nahi karenge, because space is the province of all mankind. Envoys are representatives of all mankind. So therefore, something which belongs to all mankind belongs to everyone, right? So therefore, no appropriation. Whatever you are doing, do it for the human civilization as a whole. If you look at Article 1, see this. You explore, you use outer space, but the purpose is for the benefit and interest of all countries, because we realize that all countries cannot go there. Then if you have the capacities, technical capacities and economic capacity. So therefore, what about those? Will you benefit them? Look how much of forecasting is done through space technologies in the present time. There is tsunami warning, earthquake warning, तो मुश्किल है. But then flood, huge contribution. And space technologies are making your life better. I'll give you a very instant example. If all the satellites get damaged, God forbid, if it happens, what will be the consequence on you right now? GPS is gone. This will take away smartness from your smartphone. And if smartness of your smartphone is taken, part of your smartphone is also taken. Trust me. You just think of what I have just said and you will realize how true it is. Right? See this. The whole space is free for exploration. Anyone who can go. Right? Anywhere you can go, provided you have the capacity. Anyone means states. In accordance with international law, how many of you have done international law till now? Raise your hand. Just raise your hand. I'll not ask any question. Promises. I promise. Okay. Okay. So therefore, international law. Everything has to be done in accordance with international law. That's the significance of international law. And all areas should be freely accessible. Okay. Moving further, see this freedom of scientific investigations. Scientists will go and they do go. They are part of the mission, many missions. Facilitate and encourage international cooperation. So we are going there in cooperative spirit. Okay. This was all in 1967 when we entered into this arrangement. Then somebody was talking about Moon Agreement. I'll talk a little more specifically. See this, common heritage of mankind. OST said province of mankind. Moon said common heritage. कुछ difference लगता है? Common heritage of mankind and province of mankind. Province is like ownership. Okay. Anything else? Okay, which one out of these two you connect very spontaneously? That was one of the reasons why we were not many countryside. Because itna common heritage, people were not interested. People mean states. All the efforts we make, all the money we incur, and then for what? For common heritage of everything. A little problem there, right? How do we sustain ourselves, right? So therefore, this is one very important thing. Okay. Moon is not subject to national appropriation. OST said nothing is subject to national appropriation. This is Moon Agreement, so Moon Agreement will definitely say Moon is not subject to national appropriation. Moving further, all these are reasons why major spacefaring nations decided not to sign it. Neither the surface nor the subsurface or natural resources in place shall become property. No property rights on moon. State, international, intergovernmental, non-governmental organization, national organization, non-governmental entity, and of any natural person. Who comes to your mind?
And all these people who bought a piece of land.
Sharad comes to your mind. Different minds, different people. Elon Musk comes to anybody's mind. He's watching, he has read all this, and then yet he's doing what he's doing. Good. No, I said good. Placement of personnel, space vehicles, equipment, facilities, stations, installation. We were writing it in 70s, and look how realistic. We felt we are very soon going to inhabit moon through our advances. Only to realize that no, it's not that exciting. On or below the surface, and not create a right of ownership over the surface or subsurface. We will do everything, but then no ownership. Moving further. Right exploration and use without discrimination on the basis of equality in accordance with international law. By now, I think it should not be difficult, so I'm not coming in here. We undertake to establish an international regime. So we felt that it's going to be very close now. So therefore, international regime, let's have in place. Did we do it? We didn't do it. Right? And then inform the Secretary General of your activities. Public also, international scientific community, to the greater extent, any natural resources that you may discover. So if you find something there, kindly share with everyone. Right? That's the idea. 11.7. What is the main purpose of the international regime that I have just referred to? The purpose is see, orderly and safe development of natural resources. We felt we are close, and therefore orderly and safe development of natural resources. Then rational management of those resources. We felt we are definitely going to get it, but technology is not that advanced, so therefore it could not be carried on further. The expansion of opportunities on the use of resources and equitable sharing in the benefits derived, interest and needs of developing countries. Right? Developing countries should also get something out of what few states were doing. So therefore, a very interesting regime was sought to be established through Moon Agreement. Of course, we could not go further because if the spacefaring nations won't join, then who will carry it forward? Essentially, these are obligations for the then spacefaring nations. Now, domestic regulation. I am coming more closer to our times when I am talking. It so happened that uske baad last mission to the moon, there was no further mission, nobody went, nothing happened. And then suddenly people became interested. Again, as technology developed, it makes you think very realistically about your capacities. So therefore, nations started coming out with domestic legislation. Okay? In between this phase, so I'm talking about 2015, United States took the lead, came out with a domestic legislation. Between Moon Agreement and US domestic law, there were a number of declarations and resolutions which UN came out with, and those who are students of international law, they understand very well what is the difference between treaty, convention, and resolutions and declarations. Right? Without saying anything much of that, let's look at it. So USA came out with the law. They have been taking very interesting position. They said appropriation क्या है? Appropriation extraction नहीं है. So long as we are not extracting anything from the celestial body, it's covered. But the moment we extract it and take it out of it, then there is no appropriation. And if there is no appropriation, then whatever you have not allowed, because you call it appropriation, will have to be allowed. And what will be allowed? ये मेरा है, ये भी मेरा है, ये भी मेरा है, वो सब आपका है जो आप एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं. And this is a shift in space law, big shift, and the shift is not happening multilaterally. The shift is happening domestically. Your country, your law, you can make any law. But then if you do it alone, people will ask, what are you doing? You are an exception, this is not the trend. So therefore, there were alerts watching. UAE said they will also come out with a law. Right? Luxembourg. Very interesting country. They give a lot of relaxation in tax and fee for space activities. So companies are always interested to go there and then operate from there, right? Because of the concessions. So therefore, Luxembourg also came out with a law. Okay? And then Japan, the latest edition. Dimitra spoke about all this in the last part in the name of recent developments. The problem with domestic legislation is what? Some country will say something, some country will say something, some country will say something. There will be no uniformity. So definition of what is a space resource varies. Right? What is the variation? Some people say biotic, abiotic, both is covered. Whatever we can extract. So somebody was talking about we are so lonely. Somebody was talking about we finding someone. So biotic mein wo hai. And if you cover abiotic and biotic both, what remains in space? Unless we find something later on which is not falling in any of these categories. But then the idea is that you will cover, if you go on for an interpretation of it, the possibility is that you will cover everything, right? So therefore, this is a very concerning development in the field of space law. Through domestic efforts, nations came out with a law and started making claims for property rights. The primary objective of these legislation was to encourage private players, because it was becoming difficult for the states, and the states realized that it's not possible that we go on making so much of investment in space exploration and all kind of things. So therefore, let the private players join us, right? So you will talk of space startups. The purpose of US was 2015, private players should be encouraged to invest more and more, and it has worked. But then in order to encourage private investors, they would obviously ask for returns. And what returns they will ask for? In the form of what we get out of this. So therefore, as a consequence, you will have to recognize what otherwise was very difficult to recognize. So therefore, a change in approach. Where do we figure in this? So India also came out with a legislation, but then the bill had to be withdrawn. A lot of suggestions were given, and I understand the government is working on it. But then the approach taken is the same. Okay, licensing regime is there. So variations are: can license be transferred? You go to the extent of also acknowledging the license can be transferred. India, the purpose behind the legislation was the same only as the case with any other country: encourage private players. Since we are just 2%, therefore there is only one way forward, and the forward is to encourage private investors to come in, invest, and then let the economy grow, let the space industry grow. Germany, Russia, and Brazil, these come up as counter-argument: no, this is not done, this is wrong, and all that. So at present, the situation is that we have both kind of views existing. Right, this is where we stand. But then because of the domestic legislations, nations have moved ahead. Okay? Moving further, audience support, there was a reference to this as well. US has gone far ahead with this. So they came out in 2015 with the legislation. Then audience support. What is this support all about? They say it's a political statement in compliance with the international law obligations. And then nations have to enter into bilateral arrangements with US. It's a US-led initiative. Okay? And what they are going to do? I said I'll come back to moon, I'm coming back to moon. Moon as the gateway for further exploration, and whatever we are going to do in space to space, or space for space. So big development. 35 countries have joined. India has also. Right? This you can read bilateral mechanism. On 4 December 2023, we have 35, and the number is swelling. And number is expected to swell, this being US led. However, There is another movement to this International Lunar Research Station. This comes, any guesses from whom? In some nations felt Artemis is too US centric. Right? They have also made it very accommodative. Right? So look at this. International partners are welcome to participate in the demonstration and construction of the International Lunar Research Station at all stages of the project and at all levels of mission. Purpose वही है. So look how we are moving ahead. Get a sense of direction. If you get a sense of direction, my purpose is served. We welcome all countries to join hands in the International Lunar Research Station. Some 7-8 countries have joined. Just look at the list. Azerbaijan, Russia was part from the beginning as well, UAE, and there were a number of other nations. These kind of projects are not new, being led by China. So therefore, have a good context of it. When we look at Indian scenario, Indian space policy also talks about 2023 we came out with it. Law is yet to come. It is very eagerly awaited. Why it is eagerly awaited? Can anybody tell me? Why we need to have a space law? What purpose it will serve? To have a law? इतना अच्छा तो कर ही रहे हैं हम. Law क्यों चाहिए?
Because we have encouraged private companies, so they need some legislation to regulate and govern their activities.
You ask and they will say we don't need any regulation. You
No, they
missed
don't.
it in the last part. The last part you missed it. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Direction was correct. Last part. You, yeah.
Safeguard the interest of private.
Safeguard the interest of
private-
investors.
Yeah.
When liability is going to come, who will be
A
liable?
balance between the benefit of the society and their business interests.
Yeah. So see what I am saying. Just listen to me. I am saying who will be liable if things go wrong? What will be the extent of liability? Sir spoke about insurance. What is the mechanism? How you are going to allow us? Is there going to be licensing regime and all? You need to look for that regulatory clarity, right? And in order to have a regulatory clarity, what you need to establish? No, law तो हो गया. Law के through आपको क्या establish करना पड़ेगा? You need to have a regulation. So in space is projected as a regulator, as and when the law comes into existence. Chances are that we have given them the authorization functions. A lot of the functions, whenever you get time, very soon, because we have a tendency to forget, go to InSpace website, INSPACE, right, and look at what they are doing. They are doing some very interesting work. So, space policy we have come out, and in space policy also we have spoken about extraction, licensing, and all that. So therefore, get a sense of direction when it comes to India is. Okay. Bill Vinton, so law is still in the making. Private investors based on the regulatory clarity that I have done. The recent international initiative, this also was spoken about by Dimitra in the previous session. So domestic legislation side, there is a shift. UN is again coming in, right? In what form they are coming in? They are also discussing legal aspect of the space resources utilization. Working group is established. Go to their website, watch out. 5-year timeline, keep track of the developments. Some exciting developments are going to happen there, right? And challenges ahead, technology and law. Technology gives you no respite. It keeps on developing and very fast. And more private investment, more faster development. So therefore, law has to catch up. Otherwise, problems to face. All right. United Nations. What kind of role UN is going to have in this world which has commercialized the space, right? Will the direction of law be determined by UN-led initiative, or will it be, as I have said, through domestic legislations, or will it be, as I have said, Artemis bilateral mechanisms, not multilateral mechanisms? We have to watch out for. So keep watching as we progress further in this. I've spoken about this. Domestic legislations, I have also spoken about this. one thing is very certain, and that certain thing is that space is very uncertain. Right? But look how much certainty we have brought through space technology and its applications. Your life is so certain. Our life is so certain with this device which is operated through LEO satellites and constellations and all that. So therefore, very exciting future ahead. India, look for experts, both legal and otherwise. What I'm telling you, those who are listening to me so carefully, at least ostensibly, there is a future here, right? And there is a cause to be served. Because when you have private investors coming in, they would look for, they will enter into various kind of disputes, and disputes have to be settled, and in that, space lawyers will have a huge role to play, provided we have those lawyers, right? So therefore, very interesting initiative, madam. I'm sure if even one mind is ignited today out of your efforts, a lot of pains are taken to organize these kind of events. I think your purpose will be served, and you would have addressed the cause for the nation as well, and perhaps international community as well. With this, I rest my this very short presentation. Feel free to ask me anything. Thank you.
The technical session remains open for 10 minutes for question and answers.
Hello. It's a implicit weight of laws in the United Nations. There is an inherent danger if we examine the American Constitution. Because the American Constitution, there is one provision that says that the President of the United States can go about doing anything extra constitutional, attack any country or kill any individual, including an American. If he perceives that the person or that country is doing anything against his nation, and he doesn't need the sanction from Congress. So this is an inherent danger for them to go astray. What do you think on that? They will not adhere to the agreements entered into.
Very interesting dimension. You may have powers. It's not necessary that you will exercise them in all the situations.
Yeah.
If you face a rare situation, you may exercise them, but they will be rare situation. The question will be, what is rare and who decides it with regard to exercising the power. If you look at the approach of United Nations generally, they have taken UN in confidence wherever it is. It serves their purpose. But even otherwise, they have taken UN into confidence. In certain situations, they haven't. What is going to be the situation in US? In space? Difficult to project. It will a lot depend on what direction we take from here. Whether it is international, multilateral, or whether it is bilateral, or whether it is purely domestic. One gets a feeling that you cannot look for sustainability in space without cooperation. It is very difficult for you alone. For example, let's look at the example of International Space Station. Right? There are apps available. You can track this International Space Station. Some fantastic documentaries also available as to what is the life ahead in that. This International Space Station was a collaborative effort of a number of nations because they realized alone they cannot do it. Prior to that, Russians were having tremendous experience of running Mir, their International Space Station, successfully. So therefore, US and Russia came together in order to establish International Space Station. Similarly, if you look at China, the example that I gave, in China also, they are looking for collaboration because somewhere there is a realization that it's so vast out there, in order to sustain yourself, you have to join hands. So I think cooperation is the way forward when it comes to US, when it comes to space ventures. What kind of cooperation, what form the cooperation is going to take, we have to watch out for. Some directions I have indicated in my presentation. So from here on, you have to track it, but then cooperation is the way forward. We realized it when we started. We are realizing more and more. We are also talking about cooperation between state and private players. Cooperation between private and private actors, joint launches. That's how it is.
I have a question. As we are going for space, so the reason for it is that we substantially think that Earth might not have a proper way of living after a certain time, that it won't be sustainable for us to live on Earth. So, like that, in space also, as we send satellites and as we send objects, that causes a space pollution, kind of like when the debris are left. So, what are the laws or what are the legislation, how it takes place that we can stop that pollution? Like, what are the remedies, or are there any legislatives or any acts for the protection of space to have that?
I remember you were the one who spoke previously about collision. Yeah. Now you're talking about pollution.
Yeah.
And I heard you speak about we deserting Earth and maybe moving to a new place. I have 1,000 reasons, maybe more reasons, to be convinced that you cannot find anything better than what you have.
But we are
Wait, I'm just begin my answer step by step. I'm coming to it. The idea behind space for space is not that we are going to eventually shift there. We realize the difficulties, right? The idea is that while we continue to make Earth better, and watch my words, we are going to make Earth better through our space technologies, that is space for Earth. And space for spaces, while we continue to be here, how can we reach out? That's the idea. For example, I gave you an example. Moon is the gateway to go to Mars. Manned mission is what I'm talking. Now coming back to your point with regard to liability. If things go wrong, and they do go wrong, the liability convention takes care of it. Although there is a counter argument that perhaps it does not serve our purpose in the present set of circumstances with new and new private launches happening. But be that as it may, liability convention is where you should have to look at the provisions. Liability convention says that states are liable. Okay. Then when it comes to contamination and all, contamination backward, forward, both ways happen. So contamination also a liability convention. And then when it comes to debris, there are guidelines developed. There was a reference to it in the previous presentation as well, in the last part. So there are guidelines where you talk of conducting your space activities in such a manner that debris is not generated, and if it is generated, how we are going to minimize the damage. For example, International Space Station, we had to maneuver on certain occasions because it was coming very close to the debris. So we call it space traffic management. Are you getting this? So therefore that's how it is. Perhaps I have answered, I don't know. Only you can tell. If there is anything that I have missed, I'll address, you tell me. Anything else? Yeah. You ready now?
I'm not much interested in international law. Are there any agreements specifically concerning the utilization of moon's resources, since we are using the moon as a gateway? Do we have, like, I don't know, I'm not
No,
sure.
I think, Betty, please. So, one, those 5 instruments. 2, in which moon agreement is a big part. 2, it has its limitations, we don't have too many signatories. 3, Artemis Accord, where bilaterally we are going to do it, government, and all that. I would encourage you to have a look at the text of Artemis, a very small document. It will not take more than half an hour, provided you are interested. So that is the way forward, through agreements. Yeah. And as I said, it's all very cooperative spirit and collaborative spirit. However, other aspects are also there, which you will realize in the next presentation. But insofar as this presentation is concerned, very cooperative, very collaborative. We are thinking of third world countries as well. There is an argument, fail argument, third world analysis of your space endeavors. And then there is an obligation that part of it I have referred, that you have to also do it and pass on the benefits to those who actually are not in a position to go there. So that's how it is. Thank you.
Can I ask now?
Why do you ask this? You ask straight away, no?
Sir, no,
Because already
I think they can hear me.
be louder.
They know I am.
Be louder.
I am loud enough. My question is that, do you believe that we need a space to make sure that the exploration of space goes on? Because I think after the fall of USSR, that's why that's when we see that space exploration stopped, and now only because of the space race between these commercial companies that now we see such and so development. This space race, do you believe, like your opinion just that?
No, that's okay.
Yes.
So, do you think space race was needed then?
It was
It was Cold War.
Yes.
Right? Cold War was a background, and therefore USSR launched that Sputnik and surprised USA. USA future president gave this call. Look, we are going to go to the moon. I'm very clear, and so therefore we saw Neil Armstrong going there. Now. Geopolitics is changing, disintegration of USSR, but Russia is still forced to reckon with when it comes to their experience in space. And then, for a moment, we felt it's going to be from bipolar world to unipolar world, led by and controlled by US, only to realize that China is there, emerging aspirations as another superpower in space. And why do you ignore Indian aspirations as well? Part of it comes not as a matter of choice, part of it comes a compulsion as well. We have to protect ourselves, defend ourselves, so no fault with anyone. So that's my short answer to your otherwise very interesting question. What is the way forward? So it's not that race comes consciously. Of course, when we look at it politically, yes, but then there will be nations who will be emerging as space powers as well, and we encourage that. That's the point. We encourage more and more space to become spacefaring nations. But then I again maintain the spirit has to be of cooperation. The space race, you must have been told in your families by parents, healthy competition, right? So there is no problem with the race provided it's healthy. So make it as healthy as it can be. Thank you. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, sir, for valuable insights and addressing our doubts. Moving on towards our technical session 3, we are glad to welcome Mr. Arif Pailar, our representative person of